Good morning. My name is Juan Cruz Torres. I'm the Vice President of Atlantis University. And today I'm going to be talking to you and giving you some tips for interviews. You know, an interview is something that many of us work for it, prepare for it. And why is that? Because of everything that we do is tied to that employment opportunity. You come to school, you study hard, you graduate, and then what? Now you're looking for that job so you can put to practice everything that you have learned. And so what happens when you prepare to an interview is that you build yourself with confidence. And that's important because remember, it's not just about your qualifications. It's also about your attitude. It's about that presentation. It's about creating that first impression that is going to separate you from the other applicants that are seeking to take your job. So very, very important. So let's go and see a couple of the tips that I'm going to be reviewing with you. So right now, tips to prepare for an interview. Research the company that you're applying for. In my own personal experience, one of the things that I do when I have any kind of person that is applying for employment, any candidate, I ask them, have you had an opportunity to visit our website? What do you know about Atlantis University? And many of times the answer is, oh, I haven't got the time. Oh, I haven't yet. I will do it later. Well, right there, that tells me, is this person really interested in being part of Atlantis University? Because right now, that message is not telling me so. That message is telling me that person is here just to get a job. So you have to have interest. And it's important for you to learn about the company. You can learn things like, for example, what is the mission? What is it that this company, what's the heart of the company if you want to be a part of it? You can learn about the company. Is this a legitimate company? Is this a company that you would like to be a part of? Because it's not just about the job. It's about what you can do for that company. What are you bringing in? How you, as an employee, are going to contribute to make that company grow. So that's the first tip. The second one, role play. You go out there, you spend sometimes weeks and months to get an interview so you can go in front of that person that can probably and possibly hire you. And what happens when you don't get prepared? When the interview is over, what you will normally do is that you got back and you say, oh my God, I could have done so many things different, but now it's too late. And the only thing that you can do is take that experience to your next one. But why not from the very beginning be prepared? So when we're talking about role playing, sit down with someone. Go to the process of the interview. Questions that they may ask. This is going to make you feel comfortable, at ease, relax, and it's going to give you confidence when you're talking to whoever is interviewing. And to me, that's really important because that shows me that that person took the time to get ready for the interview. When we look at how to prepare for the interview, it's important for you to also research your worth or your value as an employee. Too many people go, and when they get to this negotiation, which is basically how much are you going to get paid, what is your salary, what are the benefits that you're going to receive. And so I got people basically, whatever you give me, or I don't know. if you come to me and then that tells me you're not prepared. You need to find out in the particular job that you are looking for, what is the average salary based on education and experience? What does the U.S. Labor Department statistics tells you about the average salary for that particular job? So when you are negotiating, you're negotiating from a knowledgeable point of view of what your worth is. Too many people get lowball when it comes to the salaries because they don't know what they're worth. So you need to prepare yourself and know what is the salary that the average person receives in that particular position. Things that are important. Be prepared and don't be afraid to ask what you're worth. What happens is this. If you go too high and they don't like it, they're going to go negotiate. But if you give them a lower figure, they're going to start from there, which means that they're going to actually offer you less. So if you're thinking about getting $20 an hour and you tell them, I want $20 an hour, you're going to end up getting 15 or 16. If you say 25 and they negotiate down, they're going to negotiate to the $20 that you're looking for to start with. So that's important for you to be prepared when you do that. Understand the position. If you're applying for a job, find out what are the requirements, what is it that you're supposed to do. In other words, what are the duties and responsibilities that you will have to do. So when you talk about the job, you know what it is that is expected and what it is that you're supposed to do. So it's always important to understand the job. Have references ready. Don't tell that person that when I get home, I'm going to send you an email and I'm going to send the references. Have them ready. If they ask for it right away, flip them out. You're ready to go. And that also tells that person that you came well prepared. And that's what we want to do. We want to be prepared. So have that list ready. One thing that is important also when you go into this interview is that you gotta have a notebook so you can take notes, a pen. If you go to an interview and you don't do this and you just showed up to listen, that is not going to be a very positive interview. That person needs to know that you too have questions for the company, and when they talk to you, you want to write down the points that are stressing to you so you can come back and either ask questions later and use the notes that you've taken as reference or answer them if you're able to do so during the process of the interview. So the other thing that you also should do is have a professional resume well done and have it in a folder. So when you give it to them, it is professional. Most of the time, your resume is attached to an email and it's just printed. So when you go out there and you show that you took the time to do it professionally, you are elevating your professionalism and you're gaining points. And it's about that. It's about that presentation that you make. So prepare yourself, not only for you to take notes, but also have a professional resume presentation to give to them. So have all those little things done. And as you go through this process, all these little things add up. And that could be the difference between you being able to get that job or someone else. Another thing that we're talking about here is, please, this is really important. Be on time. If your appointment is at 9 o'clock, be there at 8:30. I had, and I am completely being honest with you, people that's supposed to be here at 10 o'clock in the morning and at 10:15 are calling me to letting me know that they're coming in late. At that point, I don't care, they'll come in at 10 o'clock at night. I am absolutely don't want to deal with this person, because if the first impression they're giving me is they can't even keep up with an appointment to get a job, I wonder what's it going to be like when they're supposed to be at work every day at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I don't want to wonder about that. And so be on time. That shows that you are committed and that you are responsible. The next one that we're going to talk about is practice good manners. You got to make sure that throughout the entire interview, you practice good manners. What does that mean? Be polite. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, I understand. Don't respond, yeah, no. Those are not very professional ways for responses. So when you go into that place, everybody that you talk to is important, because you don't know how much influence they may have with the person that is actually interviewing you. And they're watching you. So for example, you walk in, the receptionist may be the first person that you see, or it could be the assistant to the person that is going to interview you. So always take the time to say, hi, how are you? Nice meeting you. My name is so-and-so. I have an appointment with so-and-so, and I'm coming in for an interview. And do this with everybody. So always be professional and always be polite, okay? So those are things that are small, because it doesn't take a lot to do, but they're very, very important, because people are always watching you. Remember, you're making a presentation, people is looking at you, and they're evaluating everything that you do. Their smile on your face, whether you look genuine, whether they think that you're not interested. So all of this is really important. And this is really, really important too. Hey, listen, I'm right now in the middle of an interview. Can I call you right back? Oh no, everything is fine. I got this, man. Don't worry about it. But I'll call you and let you know once I get out of here, okay? Thank you. Please turn your telephones off. When you are in that interview, that person in front of you should be your entire world and the only thing that you should be concerned about. If that telephone rings and you're in my office and you pick up that phone, automatically it's a distraction, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, why should I give this person my undevoted attention when they can even spend 20, 30 minutes talking to me without answering a call? So make sure that before you walk in, you take your telephone, turn it off, put it in mute, but make sure that you don't get interrupted. That could give a really bad impression. Respond honestly. Don't exaggerate. A lot of times we like to look and sound better. And what happens with this is that people see that. It's important for you to have a conversation. It's important for you to be honest and that you come across believable. That's important, especially today. In today's age, everybody is looking for those intangible qualities that are very, very important, because they're part of the individual's work ethic and principles. And that still matters. People want to hire people who are honest, dependable, and responsible. So keep that in mind. Also, tie your answers to your skills, to your education, to your experience. Whenever you go into one of these interviews, one of the things that is really important is for you to stay on task. In other words, don't get distracted. Answer the questions directly. Be honest. Use your experience and use samples of what have you done. If a person, for example, asks you about your previous job, can you tell me about a particular project? What have you done? Make that reference. Let them know what happened, how the project came about, what were the results, what were the objectives, and ultimately, what difference did that project make to that company. And so those are things that you should always take into account. Use your knowledge, use your experience, stay on task, and use relevant samples in the discussion. Don't go into left field talking about anything but the questions that they're answering you. Many times, one of the questions that you're asked is, why did you left your company? Can you explain to me? Because if you were such a good employee and this company that you're working in was a good company, what's going on? Why you want to leave the company? Do not make the mistake of actually criticizing your current or previous employer. Why is that important? Because if you're bad-mouthing your employer or your former company, that speaks real bad about you. It tells that person that you're not a very loyal person. And so if the company was so bad, you should have left a long time ago. It also talks about who you are. One of the things that we also do is when students ask about what's the difference between Atlantis University and all the other schools, we don't tell them, well, the other schools are bad schools. Imagine if I was to tell that to a person that come here. So what are they going to think about us? Well, if the other schools are bad, your school must be bad too. So if your employer was bad, well, you must be a bad employee too. So what can I say when someone asks me about a company? Well, it's a good company. Unfortunately, at this time, the company is going in a direction. I want an opportunity to grow. I want an opportunity to be able to start with a new company. Those are things that are relevant, but have an answer and be prepared, because they're going to ask you. When people check your history, they want to go back. And if they check your references and that person calling, the first they say, well, you know what? Juan came over, he told us that you guys were a horrible company. Why is that? You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you don't burn bridges. If you disagree, if you feel uncomfortable, if it's time for you to move on, those are all legitimate answers. But going bad and bad-mouthing that company is not going to help you get higher. Be confident. When we talk about being confident, is to be sure of yourself. When you answer something, answer it as if you really know what you're talking about. That's why it's important for you to learn about the company. If they ask you, for example, our company, we're doing a marketing campaign and we're promoting this program. Tell me, have you done this in the past? And if given the opportunity, what would you do? Those are the kind of things that you need to be prepared to be able to show them how your past experience is going to help you bring the value that that company is looking from an employee, and you want to be a part of it. Let's talk about, remember to ask for business cards. It's important for you to walk out of there knowing and having access to the people that interview you. And the reason for that, because you want to follow up. And if you get 10 business cards, you need to follow up with every single one of them. So when you walk in there, the first person, oh, my name is so-and-so. Oh, excellent. Do you have a business card? May I have your business card? Take those business cards, because sometimes the person outside the one that interviewed you could in fact contribute to your hiring by letting them know, oh, this guy came in, he was very positive, he asked me for a car. Very nice. All that continue to build and continue to separate from the rest of the applicants that are trying to take the job that you want. So always be that. When you complete an interview, have questions prepared for that company. When you do an interview, remember it's a back and forth. And by me asking relevant questions about the company, it's going to show them, number one, that I took the time to find out who they are, what is it that they do, and how I can contribute to that company. In other words, what is the value as an employee that I'm bringing to the company so that I can make that company a better company? Have questions prepared. for that company. So if you research the company, you would know what are their products, what is it that they offer, what is the mission, and then you write questions relevant to that. At the same time, while you talk and you're being asked questions, you're writing notes because you want to come back and make questions regarding whatever the questions they ask. You want to come back and you want to follow up. If the person basically talk about in the past, this is an experience that we have, it didn't work for us, well, you might want to go back and ask, listen, you mentioned that you had a bad experience. Do you mind if I ask him what was the outcome? Why did it become a bad experience? Because you're showing that, hey, I don't want to make that same mistake, and you tell me what happens. So have questions prepared so that when you go in, you have 3 or 4 questions relevant. That's important because if someone comes here and they start asking me, well, you know, how long have you guys been in business? What programs do you have? What's the average cost for a program? Well, you're telling me that you're interested in finding out about your job, the job that you want, and you already know about the company. So always be prepared. When you follow up and you complete the interview, always remember, get back to everyone you became in contact. Send them emails. But do yourself a favor. Don't send the same email with 5 people and you send the same message to all of them. Do it individually and make sure that the message is personal so you touch each individual differently. In other words, make it personal. Make it personal. Sometimes after interviews are over, you get with other people, hey, what do you think about this candidate that came in for this job today? And you just send them a message, hey, thank you very much, you guys are great, I'm looking forward to hear from you. That can contribute for that person to be able to make a choice and select you. The next one, when you leave an interview, always assume positively that you really are either the person they're going to pick or you're running for it. Then you are one of the 1 or 2 people they're going to select. So you want to ask them about, tell me about what's going on after the interviews. What's the process? If that person says to you, well, you need to come back to a second interview. Excellent. When would that be? We're going to notify you. Oh, since you're already here and you've done so great, we're going to schedule an appointment for you right now so you can come back tomorrow or the next day. So you are already getting a feel for how they feel about your interview. So don't be afraid to do that. And also let them know, listen, is it okay for me to be able to send you a text and basically follow up to see how the position and the opportunities for me are? Sure. And that also shows interest. Before you continue, remember this. When you go to an interview, one thing that you can never redo, and I left that one for last, is the first impression. Think about that for a second. When you meet someone and you just get that creepy feeling, this is not the right person, where you're doomed before you even start your interview because there is an attitude in there. So where does the presentation begin? The second that you go into that office, you have to go in with a nice smile. You have to look friendly, confident, and that starts with how you are dressed. So you need to dress for success. That's an old saying. Dress for success. If you want to get a job and people look at you and immediately they realize the way you look is the way that I like my employees to look, very professionals, then you start the entire interview on a very positive note. But if you go in, you showed up a little late, you're not properly dressed, that's guaranteed failure. You're not going to get a second chance. You can't. So make sure that you dress professional, that you look to impress, because that's what you want to do. You want to make and impression, so whoever interviews you is going to remember you. It's going to remember because you look very sharp, because you were confident, because you answered the questions correctly, because you knew about the company, because you knew what you were worth, and then you know how to close by asking them to make sure that they get back to you, and you will follow. Follow all these tips, and what that will do is that it will increase your probabilities and your opportunities to get that job that you want. Remember, it's competition, and the competition is fierce. Every little detail that you do to prepare yourself is going to enhance the opportunity for you to be selected for that job. You work very hard, you come to school, you sacrifice, you graduate, you do everything right. Now the next step is to get that job, the job that you came here to school to get, so you can have a beautiful, a great future and a fantastic career. But if you can't get beyond the interview, it's not going to happen. So what's at stake is your future. It's worth it. Take the time, prepare. The payoff is fantastic. When you get that, those little words, you're higher, it's an incredible feeling. And I want every one of you to get that answer when you go out there and apply for a job. Thank you. I hope you follow. There's a lot of research done in interviewing. What I'm giving you are just some tips, but you should go and look and research what companies are looking for, what questions they may ask you, what to do, what not to do. Don't get yourself overwhelmed, but do get yourself prepared for it. Thank you guys. Have a great day.